everybody! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you all for being here with us on this majestic Daggerheart Preorder Day.
Yeah, we're here. We made it.
We made it. And, this is a really exciting day for all of us and the entire team that worked on this. There's incredible designers, artists, producers, editors, and more have all been extremely hard at work implementing all these important updates and laying kind of the foundation for the final version of this game, which is coming along so good. So yeah, we're super excited to have you guys here to discuss kind of the changes that have happened.
Yeah, we're honored to announce that you can join us in pre-ordering your copy of the game at Daggerheart.com.
Yep.
We have both a core set and a limited edition. So we're gonna go over what you get in each version, and we're also gonna talk about like some of what has changed since you all last saw it in the open beta. I know it feels like it's been simultaneously like a long time and also no time at all. It feels like we were just at this table for all of us on the team as well. And then we're gonna actually do a short like mock encounter, so you can kind of see the new mechanics in play.
Exactly. Yeah. So finally, we'll be finishing up with questions from you on our YouTube, our Twitch, and folks who are tuning in live on our Discord as well. So remember to please post your questions with question in all caps at the top so that we can find it in the chat as it scrolls through into chaos. Yeah. So let's go ahead and begin. Let's go ahead and jump into this.
Let's talk about what's in each version of Daggerheart. So you have two versions that you can choose from. I'll talk about the core set. You want to talk about limited?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So core set contains everything that you need to dive into the game. It's a like 300-page hardcover rulebook, a magnetic closure box, which is really cool, and then all 279 beautifully illustrated cards.
All that kind of fits into its own kind of little box, so you can keep all the cards organized and keep it with your book. But we also have the limited edition available for pre-order, featuring an alt cover art that is amazing and a gorgeous deluxe box that holds the hardcover rulebook, as well as a trifold GM screen and a rip pad of character sheets, as well as campaign maps. There's a tray housing a set of sharp-edged resin dice that includes unique D12s for the hope and fear for the campaign, if you'd like, as well as a selection of colored crystal tokens and a complete set of foil-edged cards to play with.
The cards are a little special.
Yeah, it's for the collector in you, like me.
Yeah.
But you can pre-order now at Daggerheart.com and through friendly local Darrington Press Guild stores for your copy. So please do so if you're excited as we are.
Okay, well, I think we should go through the changes because we're not going to cover all the changes here, just to like be totally frank. There are lots of things we've been doing behind the scenes. There's some things that we're going to hold and reveal later on, and we're really excited for you to go kind of on the journey to publish with us, to the book coming out with us.
It's coming up.
It's coming up. But in the meantime, we thought we'd cover some of the things that you're probably familiar with from the 1.5 that have changed in a really fun and exciting way. So the main broad umbrella category of the things that we did was system streamlining. This is something that we intended to do from the very beginning, and the open beta was really about like throwing stuff at the wall and seeing
everything out we could, see what worked, and then eventually kind of figure out what the best version, the most compact and natural version of that flow.
Yeah, tailoring everything in, and also, you know, there were mechanics that we were testing on the back end that never even made it into 1.5, which is part of, or never made it into the open beta in general because we were holding them for us and trying out A/B testing and all this kind of stuff. So a lot of that has been about figuring out what we liked, what people liked from the open beta, what we liked from watching people play, and then streamlining the system down into being something that we really love playing. So the main aspects that we're going to talk about start with a streamlined currency. The one that I know there's been a little bit of talk about and that we want to hit off the bat is that the action tracker and action tokens are no longer in play. They've been removed. They still act, you can still use them, they're still in the book as a form of tracking when players have gone, and like you can use them as a tool to be able to track when your players are acting, so you can keep spotlighting available and open on the table. But we've done away with the action token economy, and instead fear is the primary driver of additional GM moves, like spotlighting adversaries.
Correct, yeah. It felt like a stronger one-to-one for players, you know, hope being a resource and the GMs, fear being a resource, and kind of keeping that as just a two-part kind of seesaw throughout gameplay that went one way and the other. And just streamlining the GM experience as well, like reducing the amount of resources you have to keep track of. We learned a lot through that process that helped us with a lot of the game design.
Yeah.
But overall, I think we all were just eventually coming to this point of going, okay, cool, we've taken the best bits of that and then making it a lot smoother. So now, whenever a player rolls with hope, they get a hope, as it was previously. Whenever the GM rolls with fear, they gain a fear. So that's just the one-to-one is consistent across the way. And fear is now a much more liquid currency and is spent much more freely, like the players spend hope freely. So it's definitely more of a one-to-one back and forth.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when we started testing this, I was skeptical of it working, but we had this idea that came down the line, and we were like, okay, let's just try it and let's see how it goes. And one of the big notes that we heard was that it felt like there were a lot of subsystems to be able to keep track of on the GM side, right? Like you have your action token economy and you have your fear economy and you're trading out 2 for 1. And one of the things that we found that made me really confident in moving forward with this change, which is the only way we would have moved forward with it, right? Is if we felt like we were confident in it. And so just know that in play, we think it feels really good, and we'll show you. But it doesn't, like the actual experience of play from the player side doesn't really feel all that different.
Not really.
Like when we ran it, I know we ran it for the first time that way, and we were like, it feels just smoother. That's the only big difference.
From a PC standpoint. And as a GM, it just runs a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
It feels more natural and fun. As soon as we took that in, it was like, this is the way to go.
This is the way to go. So it's funny, it's about throwing stuff at the wall and then simplifying down to find the right mechanics that you need. So one of the other things that ripples down from that, and we're not going to talk about everything here that ripples from that, but one of the things to note is that like the GM now starts the game with a number of fear equal to the number of PCs, and then they also earn some fear during downtime. So if you take a short rest, they'll earn a little bit. Take a long rest, they earn a little more.
Yeah, you can keep taking short rests if you want, I guess. But the GM's going to go ahead and earn a little pool.
Yeah, and then you have those fear that you can use when you start the combat, or even outside of combat, there's ways that you can spend it using environments and other things. So know that that's sort of your, like as a GM, that's your pool of resources you have at your disposal. And when there's a lot of it, players know there's a lot of it, and so there is, this like sense of dread that can come with at the beginning of encounter. You might act 3 or 4 times first because you have the fear to do so.
Not that we do that at all. That would be a terrible thing for a GM to do. It's so fun.
One of the bits that I'll kind of talk about as well, just to note it, is that in doing this, one of the things I'm really excited about is that we changed some of the terminology around adversaries from being activating the adversary to being spotlighting the adversary. And so you can, when play turns to you, you can, when you have a GM move, essentially, after a roll with fear or a failure, you can make a GM move. And one of those moves can be, you can spotlight an adversary. They get to do a cool thing. They get to go and act in some way. We detail that in the book. But then I could spend a fear and have another one go, and spend a fear and move that spotlight to another adversary, and spend a fear and move it to another adversary. And then I can hold, right? I have a pile of fear. I'm going to keep these for later. So, but that spotlighting term, I think, also leans into what we're excited about with this, which is part of the streamlining, which is like making it feel like it is honing into its roots, which is like narrative storytelling, right? We're no longer activating them. We're spotlighting what they're doing. We're putting the camera on them and watching as they do a cool thing. So anyway, I could ramble forever about it. I'm sorry, Matt. You've probably heard me do this.
I like this too. I don't mind. I've been in the trenches. It's fine. So yeah, a lot of really cool things that come from this change. You'll see in the final version. But it's been really, really slick. I'm excited for you guys to try it out.
Yeah.
Another big thing that's shifted is using armor in the game. It's probably our most requested change from all the playtests that came through, but armor has been further streamlined to make it much faster in combat. The 2 big adjustments. I'll leave the one you can go
Okay, I'll do the next one.
Your damage thresholds are now no longer tied to your class, but instead primarily come from the armor that you have equipped. And what this helps kind of differentiate these mechanics narratively for how you've kind of built and outfitted the character. That way, damage thresholds represent your armor, your hit points is your body, and then stress is your brain and kind of general will.
So that's like helps us mechanically to sort of also picture what each of those are doing, right, and how they interact. Where before, damage thresholds, and hit points sort of had a commingled relationship. But the big change that's come from that now is that your armor score specifically represents how many armor slots you have available to mark. And what does that mean? One of the big things that we took in was like, okay, doing all the math, especially at higher levels. I mean, that was the big test during the open beta, was like, okay, at level 7 through 10, does it still feel fun? Does it still feel accessible? Does it still feel manageable? And one of the big pieces of feedback, of course, was like, hey, we're doing a lot of math at these higher levels when we spend these armor slots. And for some people, that's great. But for the kind of game we wanted to make, we were like, okay, let's look and see how we could potentially streamline it to make it feel more in line with like that narrative experience, to not make it one piece of crunch that's an outlier from the rest of the game in some respects.
Correct. There's so many facets to
yeah.
customize your game and your character and how you engage with the narrative. You want to make sure that such a crucial part of a combat or damage taking experience in the game doesn't detract from the momentum of the narrative.
Yeah.
And it was just one extra step of math in that process that kind of just created this little hitch in that flow.
And I honestly, I enjoyed doing the math, so like I didn't necessarily it was a problem that we're like, if we didn't solve this, if the game went out as it is like this, it would be fine. But we found something that I fell in love with, and then I brought to you, and then we were like, okay, this feels a lot smoother. And really, it had to be really convincing for us to feel okay with it, because we really like the system as it was. But the way that it works currently is that your armor score gives you how many slots you can spend, but you can only spend 1 per incoming attack. So when you're hit with damage, you might take, you may be taking major damage, and then you can mark an armor slot to reduce the damage down 1 severity, down to minor.
Correct.
Some classes, some abilities give you the opportunity to do that more. Like you might be able to spend 2, or they might be worth more, or whatever. We can play with all of those mechanics as well, and are continuing to. But the main thing is that when you take damage, you're able to mark an armor slot and then reduce it from severe to major, or from major to minor. So really, your armor score is sort of your short-term armor, like how much it absorbs. So you can like put up your gauntlet and block the attack, right? But after a while, that's not going to work as effectively as it used to. And so once you have if your armor score's 5, once you've marked all 5 of those slots, then you can't mark anymore, so you can no longer reduce the severity. This also does a cool thing that we were talking about, where like if a dragon is flying overhead and they just spray fire down across the entire party, instead of everybody spending 4 armor slots and just taking no damage and being out of armor slots, instead everybody could mark 1 if they wanted to reduce the damage, but the Guardian maybe has a better chance of reducing that damage from major to minor, and then the Wizard, probably it's severe to major, right? But you can't just absorb it all with one fell swoop of your armor and then have it be done. It's a little more that like the armor protects you from some, but not all, which we aren't always going for realism, but feels a little bit more realistic the way armor works. I don't know if you want to touch on that.
Plus, it also it makes the flow of combat just that much quicker on the player's side. As soon as you take damage from any sort of incoming attack or possible injury, you just compare it to your threshold and either take the damage or go mark a slot, reduce it by 1. You're going from 3 to 2 hit points, 2 to 1. It's very, very small math, as opposed to having to like, all right, so if I spend 2 slots, my armor score is 8, that's 16 from 30 damage, that brings it to 12, which, that's just multiple stages that, is akin to a lot of games that I played, and I don't mind it so much. I enjoy that crunch, at certain times, but for the type of game we wanted to create here, we wanted to keep that flow going, so it also has that benefit.
Yeah, totally. At least for the base, there are opportunities in the game. We've built in opportunities for the game for people who really like to do that kind of thing. There are cards that you can choose that allow you to go down that path of being able to do that more mathy build and reducing damage more using your armor score in a different way. And like there's other variations there. Know that we've been playtesting and working with a lot of that. So it's there if you want to opt into it, but it's no longer the base for what the game
Correct.
is.
Our armor investment as a character built definitely has a lot of options now, and as opposed to just, I've played beefy characters in games before and been like, cool, I deal damage, I take damage. And I don't feel a lot of options in that regard. There's a lot of ways in which you can come across that in this, which is really exciting.
Yeah. And I think on top of that, a lot of the feedback we heard too was like, characters, especially characters that had a lot of armor, were kind of like immortal. Like they were really powerful. And this system still lets you feel powerful, but also reduces that just a tick. Like your armor does help, but it doesn't help so much that you never even take a hit point. right? Which I think is really valuable. Like, we want people to still be taking damage, and so this sort of balances the balances load in that way. You can't always reduce everything you have coming at you.
Yeah, and as part of these changes too, that's also led to a lot of, which we were already doing some across the board balancing, but a lot of things have been rebalanced throughout the game, including class features, adversaries, damage dealt by certain abilities and weapons, whole lot more. There's been an overall kind of rebalancing of the game with a lot of these adjustments and a lot of the feedback that we got through the beta itself.
Absolutely, and one of the things that I'm really excited about that I don't think we've talked about yet, because it came down from this change, but because this change with armor came down, I really wanted to like think about the way that we could make this game as streamlined and I guess as like accessible to GMs as possible to do on the fly work too, because I work on the fly a lot.
Yeah.
And I know you work on the fly a lot, so like being able to do that. And so now the way that the damage is balanced, if you have tier 1 players, if you're improvising an adversary as a GM, you know that you would use 1d6, 1d8. That's like lower, and then like 1d10, 1d12. Those will get a little higher. 1d20 is swingy, but like you probably are gonna hit severe with that, right? And then once they level up to tier 2, then you have 2d6, 2d8. 2d10, 2d12. If they're tier 3, it's the same. It then goes up to 3. So we've sort of balanced it so that as a GM, I can just look at the tier that my players are at and use that to inform the amount of dice that I'm going to be rolling, plus some modifiers, and we have guidance for all of that. But like, I can use that as my basis, so I'm not going, okay, am I using 6d6 for this, or is it, you know what I mean? Like, instead of making the spread wider, we've honed it in so that you can really, as a GM, just go, okay, I know these guys are small, I'm going to give them 3d6, and these guys are bigger, they're going to take 3d12. These guys are in the middle, I'm going to do 3d8, and then this guy's big, I'm going to give him 3d20, right? And then you're looking at your whole gamut of like types of adversaries. So anyway, it's been so fun, and also lots of math.
That's the fun part of getting to these finish line points. It's going through and double, triple, quadruple checking everything and seeing what makes the most sense, what's most fun.
Yeah.
And empowering the GM to feel the most comfortable with everything we give them, and there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Including this next topic I want to bring up, campaign frames. So we have some really incredible, unique, and fun campaign frames that we collaborated with amazing writers to help kickstart your game and any kind of campaign that you want to run with your players. A campaign frame essentially is a breakdown summary of a type of campaign that you can run, both thematically, narratively. It breaks down possible, world building aspects to it, history, as well as like cultures and regions.
Inciting incident it gives you, so you can start your campaign that way. If you're having trouble like figuring out where to start, you can just run that as your first session, right? And I'm really excited by these. I think that these are, for me, the thing I was looking for in like how to get started in, if I just want to run a really fun campaign with my friends and we're all excited about doing something in this specific subgenre. Campaign frames, we have a wide range of them, so hopefully you find one that resonates with you. But of course, you could go, okay, I kind of see how they've structured this. Like, I really want to make a campaign that feels like this. Let me go fill out some of these details on my own too.
Yeah.
And then I can build a frame for the kind of campaign I want to run with my friends. And so out of that, there's one that we talked about last time that, Matt, I would love for you to give some more detail on. It's called Age of Umbra is the name of it now, and it is so cool. Do you want to talk about it?
So it's my contribution to the campaign frames. We have a lot of incredible settings here, and you can piece together, cobble what parts you liked for your own settings if you'd like. For the Age of Umbra, it's definitely meant to be a darker, like gothic, intense, dark fantasy experience. So in Age of Umbra, it exists in a world that has been punished and abandoned by the Pantheon due to some infraction of the previous God King, and the world has now been, for 100 years, left in a state of slow decay. Very kind of Soulsborne inspired, a lot of like, massive abandoned cathedrals that crumble while dark shadows wander the land, while small settlements of survivors have begun to cobble together the remnants of society and try and exist and rally against the dying light of the world, trying to expand and build new kind of settlements and pyres to kind of draw other survivors to find a place to live, while the Umbra itself, this kind of mysterious dark storm of screaming souls kind of wanders through the land, corrupting and changing everything it touches. Great heroes of old have fallen into shadow and wander the lands, their minds half lost, and there are opportunities to maybe redeem them and heal them, or if not, prevent them from becoming a further spread of the corruption. It's meant to be, whereas, for instance, our game with the menagerie was very playful and colorful and over the top and meant for us just kind of blowing off steam with ridiculousness, and this is to show kind of the other side of the spectrum of how Daggerheart can also present a world that very much sits into my game aesthetic that I really enjoy in those kind of like, grim, dark survival sort of experiences. So that's kind of the campaign frame for that. It plays into that theme, and after breaking down locations and like a gorgeous map to show kind of this one region of this setting that you can kind of place your game in. It also comes with tenets of players, how they engage with the world, tenets for the GM on how they want to run their game and engage with the world, and a number of specific unique mechanics to this setting that kind of improve difficulty, adjust, kind of you add on to the base rules of Daggerheart and make the setting feel truly unique when you play it.
Yeah, one of the cool things that I like about the campaign mechanics, and we have lots of them, and they are varied and of varying complexity, depending on what campaign frame you choose. So the campaign frames actually now all have complexity ratings. So I can jump into this one pretty easily if I'm starting out, or I should probably read this a little more depth, or like understand the game, maybe play a couple of sessions so that I understand how it works before I try and implement all of these mechanics on top of the game itself. But one of the things I really like is that we're able to just tweak the game a little bit to match the subgenre that we're in. So one of the campaign mechanics for Age of Umbra that I'm excited for is that you're keeping watch during downtime.
Correct.
I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that. Yeah.
So whenever you have downtime, whether it be a short rest, long rest, the players, regardless of what actions they're taking in downtime, there is always a threat on the horizon. And so at the end of any downtime, somebody in the group rolls, and depending on the number rolled, the GM might get more fear. You might actually end up encountering a creature that's hunting on the outskirts of where you've taken your rest. But if a player takes one of their downtime actions as keeping watch, it gives them an opportunity to roll a higher number on this in a small sliding scale of what sort of dangers lurk on the outskirts, helping keep them more safe, and possibly even get a bonus if they roll high enough.
Yeah.
Basically, so every single time you take watch in this world outside of the range of one of the various sacred pyres, there's always a threat there, and there's always the possibility of something bad happening while you're kind of quietly trying to recover your wounds, repair your armor, and prepare for the next venture. So those sort of mechanics that kind of help really kind of underline the themes of each of these campaigns that you can tweak and enjoy, and even just pluck from Age of Umbra and place into your other original campaign if you like it enough.
Right. No, I mean, honestly, it's so cool. It plays so well. It feels so in genre, right? And that's one of my favorite things is that we're able to hey, you want to play in this kind of subgenre? Here's some guidance on how we would take Daggerheart and do that. And so there's lots of those coming down the road. And we'll reveal more as we get there. But know that some of my favorite parts of this game, some of my favorite subsystems that we have, reside in these campaign frames. I'm very, very excited for them.
There's some. I can't wait for you guys to see some of these things. They're so cool.
Okay.
But yeah, we're gonna run now into a quick example of play, just to kind of go over some of these quick changes that we made to kind of show you very, very briefly, within a 5-10 minute window, kind of an example. I threw together a silly little map here.
Oh yeah, just threw it together with beautiful terrain.
Look,
and
this is my job. I have issues.
I made up some quick characters so that we had some numbers, but we, in running this, I'm probably going to hand wave most of this and just say we're going to experience what the combat is like in a looser sense, so that I'm not stopping down and examining each of the features of each of these things. We'll just use their basic stuff. So
for a quick, fun, random ass narrative beat. So
we didn't rehearse this.
No, I threw this together before we started this. So we'll go. So after days of whispers of a strange-colored fog pouring out of the nearby cemetery, your troop has been called as the storm began to grow darker and more dense, the rain itself almost seeming to take on this kind of acrid, dark green coloration to it. You figured that time was of the essence, and you all charged to the top of the hillside. As you did, the lightning crashing down, the mist began to pour out from the inside of the central mausoleum, and as you begin to step up, From the outskirts of where the tombs themselves begin, you could hear the rattling and cracking of ancient bones as corpses begin to claw their way up from the muck and broken dead grass, clawing their way up onto the long side of the stone mausoleums, drawing their weaponry and ancient rusted arms, and now staring upon your troop. I'll say at this point in the game, why not? I will start this with 2 fear already at my disposal, but because you got to watch them climb out, you get the first go.
Okay, great. So I'm seeing these sort of, are they like skeletal figures?
Yeah,
what are they like?
You see them like they're armored skeletons. Look like they were once probably ancient warriors that have been laid to rest, though there is something large looming in the distance that seems to be towering over the others.
Great, sounds like not a problem at all. So I have a guardian, a ranger, and a sorcerer. Their names for the examples are going to be Guardian, Ranger, and Sorcerer.
You got it.
Just to make it easier. So, I think in this case, the Guardian wanting to make sure that their fellow party members are safe is gonna rush forward towards. Is it this one here?
There's
is that
one
the one
here. There's one here, and one here that you can
I'd
see.
love to rush in this one. Is that okay? Am I good to get there? Okay, great.
There.
So I'm gonna run up on this guy here, and I'm gonna make a swing at the. I have a the Guardian has a. What did I give them? A Warhammer? A Warhammer. Hell yeah. A Warhammer. So they're gonna pick up their Warhammer and just swing as hard as they can right at the little skeleton thingies as it starts to pull itself up.
Go for it.
So I'm gonna roll hope and fear, and then I have it's strength, so I have a +2. That is not great. That's a 9, 10, 11 with actually that's good. 11 with hope.
11 with hope. So you do gain a hope on this, but
okay.
Unfortunately that does not succeed. As you come striking down with your weapon, you watch its fingers as it claws its way up its shield, ends up intercepting your weapon, and it clings against it, kind of slick with rain, as it pulls its skeletal face up towards you. With that, it's going to go ahead and try and retort. Where its fingers are there, it reaches back quickly and pulls like a nasty, jagged-looking short sword and is trying to jam it into you.
Terrifying. Let's do it.
All right. That's going to be a 12 plus 2, so it's gonna be a 14 to hit you.
Oh yeah, I have an evasion of 8. So yes, definitely hits.
All right, so that's gonna be 7 points of damage coming at you.
Amazing. So 7 points of damage is my thresholds are 8 and 16, so that would be minor. And I'm gonna spend one of my armor slots and reduce it to nothing. So what happens here is I pull my armored sort of what is that called? Gauntlet? And pull that up and just block as the knife tries to come and make contact. And I deflect that as that happens.
Great. Since it is still my go,
please.
and I have extra fear here, I'm going to spend another fear to go ahead and spotlight this skeleton here, who's going to charge forward around the corner to try and swarm you as well. Comes shrieking up. This one has a nasty looking axe. It's half broken with a jagged rusted corner on it.
No, why?
It's going to swing down. Ooh, that's going to be a 19 to hit
19 will absolutely hit. Evasion of 8.
That's going to be 5 points of damage on the Guardian. 5
points of damage. Great. I'm going to mark another armor slot, but I only have an armor score of 4. So I've used half of my armor. I haven't taken any hit points.
Damage, but you've used half your
armor. I've used half my armor so far.
But now it's your go.
But now it's my go. Great. As this happens, I think we see the ranger of the group watching the Guardian just get nailed by these two skeletons. The ranger's gonna run over. I'm gonna use this as the ranger. They don't technically have a bow, but this looks a little bit like a bow shape.
It's a glowing bow.
It's a glowing bow. I love it. Is gonna climb up on top of here. Ooh, can I do that?
You can do that.
Oh god. Well, okay. Well, that's fine. I'm gonna take cover behind the thing and shoot.
Here, we'll replace this with one that has a flatter top.
Amazing.
There we go. Look at that.
Thank you.
Boom.
Collaborative storytelling. Pull back the bow. I'm gonna unleash on this one right here.
Go for it.
Great, and that's gonna be +2. I'm using a short bow. It has a range of far, so that's definitely close enough.
Definitely within range.
Get there, and that's gonna be. Wow, just not rolling well today. That's a 6 and a 1. 7, 8. 9. That's a 9 with fear.
9 with fear is not gonna do it.
Not gonna do it. Okay.
As you leap up onto it, the rain is slick, but also there's moss beneath it,
Yeah.
and your boot kind of catches. As you release the arrow, you end up catching yourself on your knee, and it just goes flying wide, vanishing into the storm. As the skeletons are still kind of focused on the Guardian, the one kind of looks over, cocks its head at you. Another flash of light and from behind as you see the looming shadow here. Some massive hulking skeletal entity seems to have clambered its way from the earth itself, and you hear this low.
Cool.
Just enough flesh still sits in its decayed body to make a noise as it's going to go ahead and charge towards you, knocking this over and attempt to go after that ranger.
Yep. Ranger has an evasion of 13.
Evasion of 13. Okay, that's going to be a natural 20.
Oh,
that's a crit.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yikes. That's rough. All right, so I'm going to be rolling a d12 on this for damage. The big boy here. Die. That's going to be 12 points of damage against the ranger on that strike. 12
points of damage is severe. My thresholds are 6 and 12. 12 is severe, but I have armor, so I'm going to mark an armor, knock it down to major, and then that's going to hit. It's going to be 2 hit points on me.
Big, heavy strike as it comes down. Not with like an actual proper weapon. It looks like it grabbed a piece of one of the broken leafless trees nearby.
Oh, cool.
And it like mostly shatters over the ranger's head, like sandwiching them on top of the stone part. It cracks part of the stone beneath, having a hard time breathing. I'm going to spend another fear. Since I put that up.
Yeah.
And this skeleton here is going to go ahead and rush. I think it's just out of range. Yeah, just out of range to get to the sorcerer, so it's going to rush up and like
running towards them,
and that's just where it's going to end its go. You can take it back.
Great. As that happens, the sorcerer watches the ranger get like crushed into the what's that called?
This would be a call it a grave, a tomb.
A tomb, and onto the tomb, and onto the altar. That's a casket. Yeah,
that's the one.
Great. As I watch him just get slammed down into the casket, the sorcerer goes. And then sees the skeleton running towards them and knows they got to handle this one before they can handle that one.
Yeah.
So the sorcerer has a short staff. So they're going to use the short staff. They're going to make an instinct roll against this guy to try and hit. It's within close, which I think they are. Yeah.
They are, definitely.
Okay. Let's get a better roll with this. Maybe not. That's a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a 10 against that guy.
With fear. With fear. Bro.
Does that hit?
This is rough. No, that misses.
Oh my God! This is the best. Okay, let's do it. I'm rolling so bad. I've rolled a 6 and a 1.
Yeah.
And then like a 6 and a 2 for every roll. Okay, it's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So
it happens.
As I'll say, as you go to try and release this, your staff's power, the fear that crawls into your brain. There's something from your childhood where you remember seeing somebody killed on the outskirts of a war of your village, and that look of horror on their face as the life left their eyes. You can kind of see that in the expression of this screaming skeleton as it comes towards you, and you just balk at releasing your spell. And as you do, it closes the distance and swarms in. It's going to go ahead and take a strike at you. That's going to be a 16. I'm rolling pretty good on this
16,
one.
16, yeah. My evasion's 10.
That's going to be 5 points of damage against your sorcerer.
Great. I'm going to mark an armor, which means they have thresholds of 7 and 14. Mark an armor, it reduces it to 0. So the sorcerer just turns, and I think they don't have like traditional armor on. They have like a cloak, and I think they like fling the cloak up just as what's this guy have like a?
So this one is probably like a one-handed warhammer.
Got it.
Like
so you see the warhammer swinging towards, and the cloak just like swirls around the sorcerer here, and for a moment the warhammer connects with the fabric, but it goes like swipes right through it, ripping part of it. But then I just take a step back, and it just flows right by my face, passing by.
I'm going to go ahead and spend a fear to activate this monstrosity here.
Absolutely.
I'm going to spend my last fear to go ahead and activate
his
fear move, where he goes ahead and takes what remains of this massive tree trunk, and he's going to do a massive turning swing to hit all of his targets within range.
Okay.
It's going to be a close range, which would be just about there for the card length there and there. So both of you.
Oh, very close.
Yeah, very close. Sorry. That's going to be a 16 to hit.
Yikes! That hits both of these guys.
All right, both of these guys. That's 12 damage.
12 points of damage. I love it. So I'm going to spend one of my armor slots on the Guardian to reduce that down to minor. So I'm taking 1 hit point there. And then the Ranger, you said 12?
Yeah.
Gonna mark another armor slot and reduce that down, taking 2 hit points. So Ranger is at 4 health. Ranger has 4 hit points marked. Guardian has 1. Sorcerer has none right now. So given that,
but you're up.
I'm up. I think I gotta just plow. Well, I think I gotta get rid of these guys, because these guys are an issue if they're gonna keep crowding. So I think I'm gonna use my. I don't have the card here, but I know the Guardian would have taken the one where they're surrounded. They can hit multiple targets.
Go for it. Yeah.
So I'm gonna mark a stress to do that.
Stress to make that attack.
And then I'm gonna make the attack against all of them, against one of these guys, and then if it hits, it'll do half damage against the other one as well. And that is is a 10, 11, 12, 13 with fear.
That does it.
Okay.
Both of them.
Great.
I'll take the
So I'm
fear.
going to roll some damage on that guy. That's going to be d6 plus 3. So that's 3 of these. 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 points of damage to this one and 3 points of damage to that one.
Okay, so this one takes 2 points of damage, heavy hit, gets knocked back, and it's barely holding on. Like one of its arms falls off, and its shield kind of clatters to the ground. The other one just gets smashed into bits of bone and metal. They go splattering against the front of like the rain-slicked mausoleum. Is completely destroyed.
Yeah.
Feeling like a little bit of a turn of the tide there. You go ahead and gather yourself and spin over as I spend my as it comes to me. This one is going to go ahead and continue to swarm up the sorcerer over there.
Okay.
It's going to swing in for. That's only going to be a 9 to hit.
9. I have an evasion of 10.
Woof. The sorcerer just swings wide, no issue. The big fella's going to go ahead and step in the middle here.
Okay.
I'm going to spend a fear to activate him, and he's going to go ahead and take another swing at the ranger since he's close to finishing it off. That's going to be an 11 to hit.
11 to hit. My evasion's 13.
13. Woof, goes wide, absolutely no damage. It swings. It's the massive trunk that's now broken into maybe just like a few feet of splintered old wood, and it just manages to go about a foot wide from it, and the creature seems a little off balance.
Yeah, Ranger dips down as that happens, avoiding the swing overhead, and with one last move is going to try and hit this guy here with the short bow. We're gonna do. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's do. Let's have in this moment as the sorcerer dodged out of the way. I'm gonna have the sorcerer spend a hope, and send just a blast of energy flying to help.
Sure.
To give advantage to the roll there.
Hell yeah.
So that's gonna be 2d12, a 6, and then 2. And let's see if we can do this. Look at that roll.
You are rolling rough on this.
That's a 4, a 1, a 2. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's not going to be enough.
9, unfortunately, is not going to hit.
9, and that's with hope. But it's with hope,
okay,
so I'm going to take the hope. Okay. I think I fire out with the sorcerer and try and hit, but this thing just is able to like endure the hit. It doesn't.
It's taking them on, and bone and ribs are splintering, but it just seems to not even care.
And in that moment, we're like, do we run? And that's where we'll stop. But you can kind of see like the back and forth is very similar to how it used to be. It just is more streamlined.
More streamlined, a lot easier for the players to deal with incoming damage and how to mitigate that with armor. But mostly still plays the same way. From the GM standpoint, it's just having fear as your ability, and always getting fear each time. It's just much easier to keep track of.
Yeah,
I love it. I think it runs great.
Yeah, we have a blast with it. So hopefully you like it too. You like the look of it. It's it's really fun, and we think it runs a lot smoother. And so we're so excited for it to get into your hands and for you to see how it works.
Yeah.
The version that so many of you already know is still available. So anyone can go to Daggerheart.com, download the last available open beta version, which is 1.5. If you don't want to wait to play, these adjustments will be coming in the final version.
Correct.
So just know we're not going to update that open beta. This is all stuff that we're preparing for the final version of the game. But if you want to see more of Daggerheart, as it will be on its release, you can join us on Saturday, December 7th for the Critical Role Presents a Daggerheart Christmas Story Live.
Yes. So we're playing all the final rules for that one, making some unique characters for that, and having an absurd time on stage, as I'm
the
sure.
The opposite of Age of Umber once again, but
you say that, but once again, we had a Christmas one shot where Travis tried to kill Santa Claus for half of it. So
true.
Who knows?
Spoke too soon. Yeah. So this will be a standalone festive theme one shot featuring the entire cast of Critical Role, full of holiday spirit.
It'll be a lot of fun. And Darrington Press will also be in attendance nearby at PAX Unplugged that same weekend, where you can play games of Daggerheart. Check it out for yourself and have fun with friends, make new friends, make new characters, and all that good time.
Yeah.
So for more info on all these events, you can visit critroll.com/events. I think that kind of concludes our overview of some of the cool changes that have come across.
Yeah.
So I think we're good to start listening to some questions
Q&A?
here from the chat. Let's do this.
Will the pre-order still be available for reorder, say in January when I get my year-end bonus? Pre-orders will be live into 2025. So we'll share more in the future about like the official closing date. But just know the limited edition will be in stock as long as we have quantities of it.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, you want to do that?
Yeah, we have a question here from Twitch. Will the different versions of Daggerheart be available in local game stores? Just check in with your local game stores for availability on what they have ordered, and make sure that if you're like, do you have Are they already sold out? No, they should order more. Just but check in with the local game store and they can let you know the specifics on that.
Yeah. A great question. Why the decision for one book rather than separate books for DMs and players? Will the book contain a menagerie of monsters, adversaries, /adversaries that you have plans to do a monster manual? One book means that you have everything you need to be able to run the game.
Correct.
That was sort of the impetus of it, and just giving players what they need in players and GMs what they need in a 300-page book. Feels like you can pick it up and have everything you need to play the game on the core set.
Correct.
So
it's all kind of kept together in one thing, and to your point there, it will contain a menagerie of adversaries across all the different tiers of play and different genres and types.
Yeah, we have lots of adversaries. If you saw the open beta, lots of those are going in. We have some other stuff we're playing with, but no, you'll have access to monsters, and then in success, anything is possible, right? Like we don't know right now, but if you all love it and you want more creatures, like, let us know.
Yeah, please.
We can make stuff happen.
Yep, we have ideas.
Yeah, we have ideas. Okay.
All right, so next question we have here is from Twitch. What was the thing that made you want to make Daggerheart?
It's such a good question. Well, I mean, I love making games.
Yeah.
And I love playing games.
You can't help yourself, which I love.
It's true. So I think just like wanting to make a game that runs the way that I like to play games and that we like to play games, and sort of just having, I don't know, maybe you can speak to also some of your perspective, because for me it's like I love to make games and I just make a game and I say make how many.
No, and I think a lot of it and what you brought to us that really got us excited too. Your inspiration was, I've been playing RPGs most of my life, and there's so many great RPGs out there for very specific experiences, but there's a type of there hasn't been a game that fits this kind of midsection of all the things that I love about so many other games in one. For at least for me as a player that I enjoy,
too,
and if discovering more and more people that are like-minded and like I like these facets of this system, but I don't like these facets. I like these facets of this system, but these things kind of drag it down for me. And trying to kind of having the opportunity and the platform to try and make something that kind of does all the things that we've been looking for in a system, and be able to like try it out, work with you guys in the community to make it the best it can be, and bring it to that point is kind of really what inspired us to want to do it. Yeah,
I mean that it is a great point. I hadn't even thought about that, but like one of the things that drove me towards making the first prototype of Daggerheart was like, I really want to play a game that feels narrative focused, that feels like it is streamlined, that feels like it has mechanics that are that are fairly accessible, and also I want to play with maps and minis, and I wasn't finding any. There's lots of systems out there that do variations of that, but I never found anything that felt like it did it in the way that I was looking for, and I think that's probably the starting point of many games that are made. Is somebody's like, I want this specific experience, and so we wanted this kind of experience. You have maps and minis, you're still like moving miniatures and stuff on the map, but also we're staying in that like narrative focused, but with combat, and like how do you bring narrative into combat? How do you weave those together in a fun way? That was kind of the focus, I think, for us, for me at least, and then coming in for us once we start doing it together.
Yeah, it's been really, really cool collaborating with people who come from different facets of game design too, and kind of all of us together being like, what can we put into this? How can we make this the best it can be? And we're just really excited that we're here now.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, another question. If fear increases with rest and downtime, does fear still have a maximum? It does. Currently, it has a max of 12. So you can hold 12 fear. And then once you get to 12 fear, you should start spending them.
Trust me, you want to.
You want to. There's fun ways to do that. But yes, it is at 12 now. Okay.
All right, we have your next question. What are the easiest methods for transitioning from other systems to Daggerheart? Are there many similarities and differences that can be summarized for players? I mean, a lot of it's just kind of looking at the core tenets of what about your campaigns and the characters that are in that campaign that you think is what makes them their character. Trying to build a character from another setting or a different game into Daggerheart. A lot of it's just experimentation. Going into it knowing that nothing will be one-to-one, of course. This is meant to be its own unique experience, but while some things might not transition, there's a lot of other options that might be very unique and a fun thing that adds a facet to how you engage with this character in the system. We've had a lot of fun making like a lot of Critical Role campaign characters across the campaigns in Daggerheart and trying them out and see how that feels. And it's been really cool to be like, how do I transition this over into the system? And while the end product is never one-to-one, it actually kind of has been a really inspiring experience of seeing how much more fun they can be in these kind of new ways that I can use them.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I would say too that we found really useful is if there isn't, obviously, like getting a certain ability, like a certain power that a character has in another game. It might not be one-to-one here, and of course you can homebrew if you'd like to be able to get certain things, but if you want to play out of the box, I would recommend thinking about what the core tenets are of your character, like you said, and then using the experiences mechanic to reinforce those. So even if you don't have a specific ability that lets you do a thing, if your character was all about being sneaky, and you are building a character that, you were multi-classing into 4 different things and you were pulling stuff from Rogue and whatever you wanted to do, like however you wanted to approach that, like think about the way in which you can capture the feeling of your character and experiences and then let that drive the way in which you play that character, because you'll have those bonuses to rolls that you make where you do that thing. And so you can kind of lean into that in a fun way. That's what I found has been really successful for me in bringing over characters from all kinds of systems.
And Daggerheart's also intended from the get-go to be very homebrew friendly.
Yeah.
So, talk to your GM about there's this other ability in a domain that's not accessible to my class and the multi-class that I have, but I think it's really intrinsic. Is it possible I could swap this out and just have this one domain card that really feels intrinsic to my character for the campaign? And that's another way to do it too. Like it's customize it however it feels best for everyone at the table, and that's kind of the overall kind of guiding light for a lot of the design between this game.
Yeah. Will there be a main or default setting for Daggerheart like other TTRPG systems? Can you use this rule set for a sci-fi setting, a horror game, a cozy game? I think campaign frames are going to be the thing that you want to lean into there.
Yeah, correct. We are not presenting like a specific core like Daggerheart world necessarily. We are presenting a number of different worlds in here that all kind of exemplify different genres of heroic fantasy storytelling. And even things beyond there. We don't want to talk too much out of turn here,
Sure.
but we give examples of genre bending within some of these campaign frames and how you can explore these sort of moods that you kind of gave examples of here, very much so within this system, and give you the tools to either play in what we presented to you or to take what you like of that and then apply it to your own custom world setting.
Yeah, and there's been stuff in 1.5 that you can go look at our campaign frames and see the kind of ideas that we had. Some of those stuck, some of those didn't, but you can see what the initial push into campaign frames look like from our side, and from that maybe that gives you a hint as to what direction we think those could go, and also focusing on those being giving options for both a game that is classic high fantasy, like very close to the genre that you would expect, and then slowly starting to go out from there and explore what it looks like if it's in this specific subgenre that doesn't fit exactly into a category that we would typically think of as high fantasy, but has enough going on in it that you can find a way to bring Daggerheart into it.
Yeah, like for instance, Age of Umbra is intended to be, from a player standpoint, low magic. Those who have magic and spells at their disposal are very rare in the world and are either met with fear or distrust until they've proven themselves. And so, that's just an example I can talk about because I've talked about it before, the setting at least. There's those knobs are intentionally flexible, and we have examples on how you can do that, and then you can just tweak it to your heart's content.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's this question from Twitch. Will all cards have individual art pieces? Yes, they will.
We have so much art.
So much art over.
You haven't seen it. It's so good.
270 extremely beautiful pieces of art created by so many incredible artists that we've had the absolute pleasure of collaborating with. They are brilliant. The art team is brilliant on this. You'll start seeing a lot of these artists talking about their involvement in the game. Please follow them, celebrate their work, buy their prints. There's so much talent going into this, and that's one of the coolest things about this game for me is the cards. The art is so evocative that the art kind of helps me immediately, from at a glance, see what its functionality is in the game, and also kind of inspire creative ways that I can utilize it that I may have not have thought of originally.
Yeah, it's wild because we have been, along the way, we've been doing waves of art, right? We've had art directors and artists working on this stuff, and it's 60 pieces of art per wave per month, right? And that's it's a lot of art to go through. It's a lot of art. So we're seeing all of this art come in. And anyway, I'm really excited for you to see it. But just know it is, from the art team, a Herculean effort on their part to make all of this. Another question from Discord: will Daggerheart continue to be supported on Demiplane? 1.5 will live on, will remain live, and then there is more to come on digital tools that will be implemented for the final version. We can't talk about anything right now, but just know that it is in our in our minds.
Yes, keep your eyes peeled. Question from Discord as well. Throughout the entire process of coming up and creating this new system in game, what have been your favorite challenging moments in this journey to tackle?
So much.
I know.
I think staying excited about a project for years is the one that is the umbrella for me. Is like we started this project years ago, and to be able to like, and we have to do that with a lot of things in the creative field, right? Like movies and TV shows and all this stuff take forever to make. But I think staying really motivated and knowing it's a marathon is really important. I think also just like trying to find the mechanics that capture the thing that we think is fun from games, and not getting lost in that mechanics can do a cool thing, because it's really easy to throw so many cool mechanics in a game and then not know how they all fit together. And I think in this game, it sits in a place that there was no template for us to work from in that respect. Like, this is a game that's trying to sit in the middle of two sort of spaces, the narrative and the like tactical. And I think that's the biggest challenge, is like, how do we make something that feels like it hits that sweet spot for me of like, I can use the maps and minis, but also I can utilize them as a tool to tell stories, and making sure all of the mechanics along the way reinforce that style of play and aren't just cool. They can be cool, but they can not necessarily fit, right? That's part of what we saw with Armor, the previous version of Armor that I still like, but like, I really had to think long and hard, because we got lots of feedback from you all around like, hey, this just doesn't feel, it's a really cool mechanic, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it fits in this game. So I don't know. There's lots of challenges, but those two have been highlights for me.
Yeah, I mean, the anxiety right before releasing any of this to the public and hoping people like it was, I mean, it's a challenge we face with a lot of things. But like, having worked on this in private for so long and liking it internally and through friends and play tests and in close spaces, and like eventually going like, hey, world, look, we're making it better. Hope you like it. Help us make it better. Break it. You broke it. Awesome. Cool. Now we get to try and fix it.
I know.
It's been great. So
this one's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, does our Beacon member discount work on the pre-order? Yeah, it does. Beacon Bits have been sent, or Beacon Bits have been sent a discount code, so you should be able to use that. It should be in your email. But yeah, you should be able to use the discount on the pre-order.
Indeed. Next question here from YouTube. I'm a first-time DM with a 1-year campaign. My party consists of 3 first-time players and 1 seasoned veteran. How do we introduce this system to our group? Well, actually, you can download the Quick Start Adventure at Daggerheart.com, and it's a very, very accessible introduction to how you can take a group of mostly new players and show them how to engage with the system as it's kind of intended and was built.
Yeah, and I think once the game comes out, right, like being able to bring those players in and do what you can to help utilize the parts of the game that you're currently playing, and also explore together the parts of Daggerheart that weren't available in that system. I don't know what system you're playing, but like whatever it is, like find the parts that you want to bring over and find the parts that you are excited to explore new in Daggerheart, and use both of those as a basis to sort of soften that transition, because it can be hard for players who it's their first time playing. They learn a brand new system, and then you're like, hey, how about we learn a new system? Learn from the start all over again. That can feel intimidating. And so I think a Quick Start Guide is a great thing. And also start at level 1. Yeah,
start at level 1. I'd say before you convert your current campaign into it, like have a one-shot where you get to try out the system without the weight of the narrative you've already invested in for so long. Make a bunch of level 1 characters. This game, like the character creation process for level 1 is very collaborative and very much kind of brings you through the game system and functionality of how your character builds out in a really, really cool and easy to invest in way. And so after going through that process, running a one-shot with the system, that I think is a pretty solid introduction to it. And then you can decide as a group, if this is the kind of system you want to continue with, or stick with the system that you've already been playing and do this in other wings. It's up to you at that point.
Yeah. Anyway, regardless of what you do, we're so excited for you to pick up Daggerheart, go pre-order it, and go play 1.5. Still play 1.5 if you want to. If you're enjoying that, don't feel a need to like stop while we continue to iterate, because it's gonna be the pre-order is happening now, and then we're gonna get everything to the printer soon.
Yeah.
So, but it'll take some time. Things take time to print and ship and all that kind of stuff. So don't feel the need to wait for us.
No, sooner than you think. This year has proven to me time can go by very quickly.
It's so fast. Well, thank you to all of the playtesters who participated in the open beta playtest this summer, and to all of those who are currently participating in the closed playtest right now. We still have playtests happening currently for the game. So to all of those who are still in that, we so appreciate the hard work you've been putting into it. The book is nearing completion, and we're very excited to get it in your hands soon.
Indeed. You can pre-order the core set or limited edition of Daggerheart now at daggerheart.com. Super excited for you all to get a chance to play this final version. Thank you so much for joining us today to talk about this. And
it's been a journey.
It's been a journey, and we're nearing the end of it. And when we finish this journey, maybe it'll just be the beginning of many more. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.